The quiet of a bedroom, the simple words of a child, these can become the portals to a fractured reality. Welcome to the Charon Files. The stories you are about to hear are testimonies from living witnesses of what moves beyond understanding, of what refuses to be explained. Each of them stood at the edge of what is known and looked into what lies beyond it. My name is Charon, Ferryman of the Dead, the one who waits at that edge. What follows is what they brought back. May they prepare you for your own future encounters. The perceived stability of one's own existence, the inviolable sanctity of sleep, the unique bond of parenthood can prove to be a delicate illusion. There are moments when the unseen world asserts itself with an undeniable force, shattering the familiar and revealing a profound fluidity beneath what humans deem solid. It is in these intrusions, these direct confrontations with an active unknown, that the individual's personal reality is not merely shifted, but profoundly challenged. The veil between what is known and what remains unseen thins to a mere whisper, and the echoes of unseen realities resonate within the most personal spaces, leaving a chilling awareness that all is not as it appears. Earlier, in episode 4, Ben from Bethel, Alaska detailed a vivid and terrifying dream experience, trapped in a dark room and compelled into a deadly game involving a knife. Now, we turn to Oliver, in Melbourne, Australia, who recounts his first unforgettable encounter with the unseen.
Australia, Melbourne, between 1970 and 1975. I roughly can't remember exactly how young I was, but I was sleeping in the same room as my older brother, maybe 6 or 7 years old. I was having a dream about two large glowing red eyes at the foot of my bed coming out of what looked like a tall hooded figure. I woke up. Thinking it was just a dream, I looked to check and make sure. But when I did, there they were, two huge glowing red eyes at the foot of my bed. My brother's bed was close by. I woke him up and got him to look as well. Sure enough, he saw them too. We both hid under the blankets until morning, too scared to call out or move. I've had many other paranormal experiences over my life, but this was the first I can remember. I've seen a star-sized dot in the sky at 10 years old at night, shoot from horizon to horizon, zigzagging all over the sky with another 14 witnesses. I've had a life full of night terror dreams of being awake, unable to move, while horrendous things are done to me. I have no real memory of aliens or anything like that. But I've been awakened by housemates in the middle of the night because of an unnatural screaming coming out of me from these night terrors, of being tied down and something is coming for me. It takes me a few days to recover from one of them. I'd always been different from other kids, never conforming or believing in school or authority or social norms as facts to be adhered to. I was called names like Nature Boy as insults because I cared for the planet and always believed it was in danger by pollution, destruction, and overpopulation. At the age of about 12 years old, I decreed I'd never get married or have children, stating that something is coming and I don't want to bring children up to suffer from it. I never did get married or have children. I'm 60 years old now, and it seems all my fears I've been saying and ridiculed for have come, and are still coming true. I feel those large red eyes were a pivotal point in my life that put me on a different path from my family and friends. My intuition and awareness of my surroundings is unmatched by anyone I've ever known.
If you recall from episode 8, Clara, from Norfolk, Nebraska, recounted a disorienting incident where her usually locked home was entered by a stranger. Next, we consider the testimony of Zoe, from Purcellville, Virginia, whose account remains before us. In episode 10, Emma from Fort Wright, Kentucky, described her 8-year-old son speaking of rebirth and a prior existence, echoing the loss of her daughter. This brings us to Harper in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, who shares a profound account of her young daughter.
My daughter recently turned 3. Until this point, she's often said spooky things, but it's usually in reference to my own life or family. For instance, just after she turned 2, I was having a bad day and was crying in the shower. She came in and saw me, said, "Mama, you sad?" I said, "Yes, baby, but I'll be okay." And she responds, "You need Gigi hug?" Gigi was my great-grandmother who passed when I was 12. I never talk about her, but I figured my daughter was referring to her own great-grandma, who she calls Gigi as well. I laughed. I wish... Well, when I got out of the shower, my daughter proceeded to bring me an Afghan that my Gigi had made me. It was tucked away in storage in a closet, not in easy reach, and I have never told my daughter that was my childhood blanket. The same year, she would pretend to, quote, talk on the phone to Gigi, remark that, "Gigi misses you, Mama," and point out blue Cadillacs on the street and tell me, "That's Gigi car." The last vehicle she owned was, indeed, a blue 90s Cadillac that she loved. I always kind of figured my daughter just had a connection to my roots, and it brought me comfort. However, recently things have gotten strange. She started telling me, "I'm glad you love me more than my other mama." I told her I'm her only mama, and she said, "No, I mean the one before I stayed with Gigi." I asked, "What do you mean?" And she said, "When I was with Gigi in the sky, she told me to pick you because you love me." I'm open-minded, so after a few days, when we were cuddling, I asked, "Did you have another mama before me?" And she nodded, got very emotional, and cuddled into me, and started crying and just said, "Don't leave me, Mama." She's obsessed with the stars or moon and frequently says, "When I go back to see Gigi by the moon." She refers to herself as Dottie, which is nothing close to her real name, and no one calls her that or acknowledges it. She can say her real name, but it took months of calling herself Dottie before she began to call herself by her name. She's told me, "The last time I was here, there were no cars, only horses." It took her until she was almost 3 to tell me I love you back. She could say it, but she actively chose not to, even though I tell her 100 times a day. She'd often question "Yuv me" when she was younger. She's always been crazy independent, and when I leave a room or area where she can't see me, she doesn't panic, but when I come back, she exclaims, "You came back!" with tears in her eyes every single time, like she's not expecting me to return. So, she gets very emotional when I try to ask her questions, so I don't really want to push. I've also gotten inclinations that she's never grown up that she can remember, because she says things like, "I wanted to do that, but I was always so small."
These accounts reveal how the expected order of life can be pierced by an active, unseen presence, demonstrating that the echoes of other realities resonate within the most personal and vulnerable spaces. The names of the witnesses have been changed to maintain anonymity. If what you have heard tonight mirrors something you have experienced, leave your story in a comment below and we will include it in a future episode. Don't forget to subscribe. You wouldn't want to miss